John, Acts, and the letters to Romans, First and Second Corinthians, Galatians, and y'all remember that? Y'all know the New Testament. I learned that at Church of Christ when I was a little boy at Vacation Bible School. I used to love this song. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Y'all remember that? That's what got me in church. I don't forget it. Acts, which is in the New Testament. I want to read this verses 1 through 6. And I'm going to read this from the New King James Version. Go all the way to the last chapter, which is chapter 28. Acts chapter 28. And I'm going to read the New King James Version. When you get there, please let me hear you say amen. 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 If you have a decent Bible, it might say something like Paul's ministry on Malta. Paul's ministry on Malta. Now, when they had escaped, they then found out that the island was called, look at your neighbor and say Malta. And the natives showed us unusual kindness, for they kindled a fire and made us all welcome because of the rain that was falling and because of the cold. But when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks, laid them on the fire, a viper came out because of the heat and fastened on his hand. That means he bit it. So when the natives saw the creature hanging from his hand, they said to one another, no doubt this man is a murderer, whom though he has escaped the sea, yet justice does not allow to live. But he, Paul, shook off the creature into the fire and suffered no harm. However, they were expecting that he would swell up and suddenly fall down dead. But after they had looked for a long time and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and said that he was a god. In that region, there was an estate of the leading citizen of the island whose name was Publius, who received us and entertained us courteously for 3 days. Last verse I'm going to read said, it happened that the father of Publius lay sick of a fever and dysentery. Paul went into him and prayed, and he laid his hands on him, and he healed him. Look at your neighbor and tell him the sermon title. Tell him, neighbor, I don't need friends like that. That's what we want to talk about. I think I told Pastor Jones that the sermon topic was going to be something else. You don't need friends who will stand there and watch you die. That was what I was going to preach, the topic. Because I've learned about the realities of life. In fact, I learned in one way at an earlier point in my life, and then I've learned just like everybody else, the more you live, the longer you live, the more experiences you're going to have, the more that you'll probably be able to see a little bit further down the highway than somebody younger than you, because life itself has a lot of challenges. And I don't mean any harm, but I pretty much got my mind locked on the suspicion that you just can't really trust anybody. Sad to say, but you can't really trust anybody. You can't trust your holy brothers and sisters who go to church on Sundays. You can't even trust sometimes in people's situation, their own sisters and brothers that they grew up with. Some who slept in the same bed when they was young. Same mom and dad. It don't matter, but same mom and daddy, same blood running through their veins, and just can't get along. But they come to church every Sunday. And that's why, this whole dream of our sin is better than your sin is nothing but a bunch of devilish stuff to keep the church distracted on what the real cause is. Y'all, somebody has really told us wrong. I think we are trained up in the way that, of course, if you come from a Christian home, in the way that you should go. But there's certain things that we see on TV and that we adopt that's just not true. Somebody's told us wrong because when you've been knowing or you knew people for a long time, and then all of a sudden, man does something that's off, or woman does something that's off, it comes across in this day and time that we have a lot of people who may not really understand that it's okay to be yourself. I mean, it really is okay to be who you are, who God created you to be. Your gifts. I wish I could play. I'm telling you, if I could play, oh my Lord, I'd be playing. But see, that's not a gift that I have. I mean, I don't know that I can even learn how to play. But what I do have, I'll use it. And if you can learn to just be yourself, and don't worry about too much about what people say or do, because in these days we have people who just don't care about anything. That's right. Disrespect to elderly is something that just, it bothers me, because I was just raised, no matter what my behavior is at times, I was raised in a way, you'll see me walk away from an older person before I sit there and trade words with them. You just didn't do that. You would get, something done to you. But somebody's told us wrong, and we adopt and accept that type of craziness. Because people are just where they are. Kind of like fake as TV is, and weaker than water ever was. And it's sad when people who should get along have a corner eye looking at each other. And it's sad when we have people who can know people all their lives and walk right past them, don't say nothing. I have, because I'm human, I'm like anybody else, and I'm starting to really understand what the Lord is doing. But listen, y'all, I've seen people walk right past their mother's child and never even speak to their own sibling. I've seen that. I like they are a stranger. I mean, I'm rushing to try to ask the Lord to please, God, give me a word that will be relevant, that I can say your words and not my own, based on the scriptures. Because let me just say this, the sooner that we eliminate those people out of our life who are really going nowhere, but they're kind of there to keep you, pull down those folks who would want to give you advice on something that they don't know, and every time they touched it, it was messed up. I would not ever, if I was in a pinch, get my suggestion or advice from somebody about preaching who has never been to church, never heard a preacher, never preached. You would be well to decipher through the nonsense, because a lot of nonsense when it comes to these days and time when we ought to try to get young people on and I don't even know if it would be correct to say the right path or some type of manners, because back in the day, even people who was on the street had respect for the church. And I see the church not being very effective because of perception. Now, at this text, and we can't control anybody. If you get bit by a snake or the neighborhood bully dog comes chasing you and bites you and nobody decides to do anything, listen, that's just how life is sometimes. I would say that we don't control people, and when people decide to get in a way that we don't appreciate, it's best to probably just back up, stay back, because the way people act after they are upset seems so disrespectful. I was in Walmart the other day, and I seen this person just all over the store. I'm running up and down and up and down. And I heard another person say, "Stop all that running." And then the person said, "Well, make me." And I said to myself, I wish my mama was here, because this would be one time that I wouldn't mind seeing her, get live. But mama didn't care where it was. I wish I would run all around the store. I remember one time my little brother did that and knocked the whole pile of stuff down. And I said, he's finna get it. I know he's finna get it, because that's just that's just what happened back in the day. We respected people, and nowadays there's not much respect. There's not much love. But when life is falling apart, you take the position not to be who we say we are. Now, I can only talk about my experiences. I think about life a lot. I don't really have a lot of respect for people who are like grin in your face, but trying to talk slick behind your back. I don't really have much respect for people who act like it's okay to disrespect older people. I don't have respect for people who can know that the church is not doing and not being the best it can be, but they do nothing. I don't have a lot of respect for things that are common and what we know to be right. I don't have a lot of respect for people who can say, well, no, this is not right, this is, and know that it's dead wrong. There's a conversation that should be had in America about normal human decency. I knew this sermon was going to be kind of hard, and I was struggling through it. But it must be preached because it's the truth. Amen. Conversations nowadays can be about anything so unproductive and does no good, but we engage it like it's, gonna put $1 million in our pocket or put our kids off in a direction that's gonna make them self-sufficient to be able to take care of generations after us. I'm telling you, because I don't know and don't want you to be surprised or to be hurt, and that's why I'm telling you this, especially young people who are starting off in life, who have gotten out of high school, and you start to get involved with different people. I'm telling you this because I don't want you to be surprised or hurt or caught off guard when this kind of pain finds your doorstep. All these people who don't share their experiences, who have a wealth of information, but they're so holy that they can't share it and pass it on, kind of like an old recipe, and everybody loved that recipe, but she died and she took it with her. She didn't share it with anybody. We are bad about that. We ought to be free to share our experience. I can tell somebody in a minute, you don't want to go down that road. I can tell you where that will lead you. Truthfully, and the reason why we do that, because y'all, let me tell you, we just don't care. I see so much just don't care. I mean, even myself, and I look at the situation, but sometimes life can get you in a situation and you just don't care. suit be out of whack, you just don't care. But let me tell you this, you have to care, because hard times, fake friends, all the trouble don't last always. That's why I say you ought to be able to help some young persons, help some older person. Especially young people who are going down the road that some of us have traveled. I tell you what, another thing that I don't really respect is somebody to see, they looking at you. They see you need help, and they see you need assistance, and they just can talk, but they never do anything. I would never, and I can't swim, y'all, but I would never sit there and watch somebody drown. You know that song, I don't have the heart to hurt you? I don't have it. You know, some people are like that. They can just, they cold, but I don't want to sit there and watch you struggle and just watch you drown. It's far past time of being, I guess faith, I need another word besides faith, because I'm not fussing, I am so humble, but it's still